Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the rhythmic echo of boots pounding on cobblestones, the gleam of steel reflecting the midday sun, and the flutter of banners bearing the insignia of the mighty Ottoman Empire. At the heart of this empire was an elite force, the Janissaries. Their loyalty, discipline, and martial prowess made them the backbone of Ottoman military power for centuries. But what if I told you that their influence extended far beyond the battlefield? That these warriors, originally slaves of the state, grew powerful enough to shape the destiny of sultans and the empire itself? Today, we uncover one of the lesser-known truths about the Ottoman Janissaries, their hidden political power, and how they became kingmakers in one of the most powerful empires in history. The story of the Janissaries begins with a system called devshirme. Picture this. Christian boys, often from the Balkans, were taken from their families as part of a levy by the Ottomans. These boys were converted to Islam, immersed in Ottoman culture, trained and disciplined to become loyal servants of the Sultan. For many, this was a ticket to a life of prestige and power they could never have imagined. The devshirme system intentionally severed familial bonds to ensure that their loyalty rested solely with the Sultan. Following this rigorous upbringing, many of these boys became Janissaries, the Sultan's elite guard and an innovation in military history. They lived a life of discipline, made vows of celibacy, and were forbidden from owning businesses or marrying, a lifestyle designed to cement their singular devotion to the throne. But power, as history tells us, is a seductive force. As the empire expanded, so too did the Janissaries' reputation as an unstoppable military force. And with success on the battlefield came privileges. By the 16th and 17th centuries, the Janissaries were no longer just soldiers. They had become a political force to be reckoned with. No longer satisfied with being instruments of the Sultan's will, they began to influence how that will was shaped. Initially, their power grew subtly, like a tide coming in. The Janissaries leveraged their role as protectors of the state to make demands, pressing for better pay and privileges. They became a fixture in the capital, interacting with high officials, merchants, and the people, slowly entangling themselves in the empire's politics. And then came the turning point, Sultan Osman II. Osman II rose to the throne as a young and ambitious sultan, determined to strengthen the Ottoman Empire and curtail the growing power of the Janissaries. He saw with alarm that their ranks were swelling disproportionately, with questionable loyalty from recruits who no longer adhered to the original strict standards. Some Janissaries had even begun smuggling their families into their ranks, directly violating their vows of celibacy. Internal factions were forming, fueled by jealousy and rivalries. For Osman, the Janissaries were no longer the disciplined warriors they were meant to be. They had become a liability. But his attempt to reform them would come at a cost. In 1622, Osman II made the bold and fatal decision to disband the Janissaries. However, the Janissaries were not soldiers who would quietly obey decrees, especially those that threatened their very existence. Enraged by the Sultan's actions, they staged a coup that would reverberate across the empire. Storming Topkapi Palace, they deposed Osman II and imprisoned him. Later, they executed the Sultan, a shocking and unprecedented act that marked how much power the Janissaries had consolidated. They had become kingmakers, able to enthrone or depose sultans, but in doing so, they crossed a dangerous line. The balance of power had permanently shifted. This was no isolated incident. Over the following decades, the Janissaries grew bolder. They weren't merely soldiers anymore. They were a political institution, shaping policies and playing power games behind tall palace walls. They frequently used their influence to cash in on lucrative military pay raises, secure estates, and gain direct control within imperial courts. Some even began to form alliances with wealthy merchants and powerful bureaucrats, further entrenching their grip on Ottoman society. In time, they became so powerful that they were seen as indispensable, not just by the Sultan, but by an empire that feared the chaos their rebellion could unleash. But here's where the contradictions of their power became apparent. While their political clout grew, their effectiveness as a fighting force dwindled. The Janissaries slowly abandoned their rigorous training and discipline, growing complacent with the privileges they had amassed. The original ideals of the devshirme system had all but evaporated. Men routinely falsified records to secure places for relatives in the Janissary corps, breaking both the rules of recruitment and their vows of celibacy. These smuggled families created secretive factions within the Janissary ranks, which sowed the seeds of division and distrust that would haunt them in later years. No longer a unified spearhead of Ottoman might, they became fragmented and corrupt, their priorities far removed from military glory. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the once unstoppable Janissaries had transformed into a liability, a shadow of their former selves. Their unchecked power had bred complacency, and their refusal to embrace modernization left the Ottoman military ill-prepared for the changing dynamics of warfare. Recognizing this, Sultan Mahmud II took a decisive and brutal step. In 1826, he orchestrated the auspicious incident, a swift and deadly campaign to dismantle the Janissaries once and for all. Thousands were executed, their barracks destroyed, their corps disbanded. The Janissaries, once the pride of the empire, were no more. The Janissaries were far more than soldiers. They were the lifeline of an empire and its greatest danger. Their ability to shape history was unmatched, but their unchecked ambition and internal corruption proved to be their downfall. They played the game of politics so well that it consumed them in the end. Looking back, their legacy is layered with both glory and caution. They remind us of how power can corrupt, how loyalty can erode, and how even the mightiest can fall when they lose sight of their purpose. The Janissaries' hidden influence shaped the history of the Ottoman Empire in ways still felt today, and their story is a testament to the complex interplay of loyalty, ambition, and politics that defines human history. Who would have guessed that the empire's strongest guards would, at times, hold its greatest weakness in their hands? Thank you for watching, and remember, history is never just about dates and names. It's about people, power, and the stories that bind them together. Until next time.